and welcome everybody to the FrameCast. Today we have a bit of a different situation. You might be able to hear me fine. You might be able to hear Drew fine, but Drew hears me very terribly for just like a gaming microphone. These headsets are like they make them really cool and like Bluetooth if you like, but then like they make a really shitty microphone on the end of it. That's because my mixer panel broke. So I am doing this in a very like DIY botch way, which hopefully works on your end and like makes this somewhat of a decent framecast. How's it going, Drew?
I can see your lips flapping, but I can't. Are you saying things?
Can you not hear
No,
me?
I'm just fucking with you. I'm fucking with you. I'm just fucking with you.
We were having conversations before, and he was like, "I'm like, dude, if you're gonna, I'm just gonna pull this out, and you're gonna have to read my lips now. You're gonna have to read my lips from now on."
Oh no, don't do that because the picture quality is like since you started the stream, the picture quality is like dropped, and so I can barely make out your lip movement.
I'm just a blur. I'm just a blur. Just like our break had been like a bit of a blur. Like it went by really fast. Like I was like, oh, this is gonna be we're gonna have heaps of time, and then all of a sudden it was like the anime cast, and there it was. So, how did you enjoy the Framecast break and like the anime cast last week?
I really enjoyed. The break it wasn't really a break for me because I mean everything was still ticking over for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I love doing the anime cast. Yeah, it was great fun. I hope people enjoyed listening to it. I hope that it was entertaining. I hope you enjoyed doing it. I think it also proves that you can kind of go into one of these podcasts with just questions from the audience because I feel that the questions are able to drive discussion really far without the requirement for an extra topic. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, like pretty much like you don't necessarily need topics in like a podcast because you can also like the way that I prefer my podcast is when it's just like we sit down and we start having a conversation as though we would normally like.
Mm.
I have so many conversations with you, with like my friends, with whoever. I don't want to like drop names and like put people into jeopardy or something. But like I have so many conversations where it's like, dude, like we've been talking like for like 2 hours now. We could make if we were started recording this would have been a fun podcast. And I think that's like the fun part of podcasts where it's like, hey, it's just a couple people talking like funny shit, and maybe you learn something. Probably not, but it will hopefully be entertaining to you. So yeah, like definitely, and like whether you use topics, questions, or just the general flow of conversation as your method of usage. Um, yeah, it's great. Steph says that yeah, the anime stream was really fun. I don't watch anime, but it was a really damn nice show.
It's nice to hear.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad to hear that you enjoyed it. I was a lot of fun with DK and Joey on. They were really good guests for the first episode, and boy, did they like know a lot as well about anime. Did they watch a lot? I feel like I need to catch up with some series.
Well, I'm not going to say you don't. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I've been finding more and more stuff, and I'm just like, yay! Although, on a side note, I discovered earlier today that name of the name of the game. No, sorry. Rise of the Shield Hero light novels are back on Amazon.
Yay! That's good.
So, but No Game No Life is still not on Amazon.
That sucks. Oh man, wasn't there like recently also another streamer? Yeah, like I think there was another like big name streamer that got banned off of Twitch without a reason. Like they basically just copied like Doctor Disrespect's tweet. I just was like a Champions Club firm handshakes until we hear anything from like a Twitch. So it seems to be like Amazon policy right now, where like they learned from YouTube, where like YouTube just sends you a thing like you got banned for like this thing, and then they don't explain it. Amazon was like, why don't we just ban people? Don't tell them anything.
Yeah,
they can't criticize. Oh boy, oh boy.
Wow.
Twitch, please keep us alive. We're humbly streaming to you now. Anyway, today we have a couple of topics. With a couple, we mean like literally two. Number one is that gaming is bad for you. Or like if you are a kid, according to Joe Rogan. he said it on his podcast. Normally, like, what do we care what Joe Rogan says on his podcast? However, like, a lot of people have taken up to, like, talking about it, like, including PewDiePie and Ninja, being some being very displeased with it, saying that, like, you don't really know what you're talking about. So, like, I kind of wanted to, like, take a look at it, see what he said, see what, like, things are where, like, he might have been right or might have completely been entirely off track. And the second topic is Tennocon 2020. Tenno Live, which happened last weekend, right?
Saturday. Yeah, Saturday.
First one not to be on location. How was it for you to, like, be at home for the very first time for Tennocon?
It was sad. Like, I was sad that I wasn't able to, because, like, there's something about the atmosphere. I mean, like, Canada is such a vastly different place to where I live in the UK. Like, you know, they get, like, shit tons more sun. The culture's different. The drinks, like, just being able to go to a the Circle K store just around the corner and buy, like, a gigantic bottle of bloody Dr. Pepper Zero, or being able to buy root beer. Like, it is such just a vastly different experience. And, you know, still being stuck in my paradise of a geek sanctuary. It's like, I'm slightly climbing the walls, man, dude.
Yeah, it's a nice out. Like, for the 2 years that I went, it's like it's a nice break in the middle of the year. So I definitely do miss Canada too. And yeah, it's sad that we weren't able to go. Before that, though, before we dive entirely into, like, the topics, what have you been playing? Remember the section, what have you played? What have you been playing over, like, last week or before that as well? Because we didn't really touch on this in the anime cast. What have you been up to?
I like, sweet fuck all. Like, I've barely had any time. Like, I've played Warframe, certainly, because, you know, I need to get background footage for 10 o'clock. I mean, I can't not get that. But
Yeah.
like, in general, like, I have been completely unable to play much. I've played a little bit of Panzer Paladin, which
What's
is
that?
like, it's like an 8-bit. It's really new. It's like an 8-bit. Oh God, how do I describe this? Like, platformer game, very similar to Mega Man and things like that. But the idea is that you are a character piloting a mech, and you're able to get out of the mech, but as the mech, you're able to pick up weapons and, you know, do all sorts of weird and wonderful, like, murderizing things. So I picked up that. I also picked up Skull Kids, I think Hero Slayer, relatively recently, but I barely got to play that. I've just had no time. Oh, Carrion! Oh God, yeah, no, I completely forgot about Carrion. I bought Carrion. I've played an hour and a half of Carrion. Really enjoying that because it's sort of like a fun little action game. So, but aside from that, I've just been playing Warframe.
Yeah. I mean, like,
Oh, and Remnant.
given the topic today, like, you're doing good. Actually, I might add a third topic because something just came up today, which I think is cool to talk about. I'll get to it later. Just a reminder for myself right now. In the meantime, like, I've been playing, like, not a lot because I've been away as well. Last time we talked, I played Nier, like, I finished Nier, and I really didn't go back. As Nick Evans said on, like, the FrameCast 48, the last FrameCast we did before the anime cast, it was like. It was like when I reached, like, the final ending of Nier Automata, I literally, like, happy cried throughout it, but I haven't been able to go back to it in a while because it was so satisfying. I don't want to risk losing that feeling by messing up. And, like, I kind of had the same thing. Like, I was super intending right after, like, that framecast when I just finished Nier Automata. I was like, I want to go back. I want to complete this entire game. The game deserves to have all its achievements, like, everything. And I just couldn't do it because it didn't feel right. So I kind of, like, fell in a bit of a hole there. I played a bit of God Eater, and then I recently picked up Ghost of Tsushima and Terraria. We've been playing Terraria on stream, which has been a lot of fun. It's kind of like Minecraft, but also kind of not like Minecraft. And then Ghost of Tsushima, like, the first part is out today on the channel, or, like, yesterday if you're watching this on YouTube now. And that is actually rather good. I can't wait to record part 2 of that because it's like Assassin's Creed, but like, with like a really cool like combat system, and also like it's out in Japan with like a cool story behind it, which isn't just like the Assassin's Creed story every time. So yeah, I like that a lot.
If I understand correctly, Ghost of Tsushima is meant to be really authentic. Like it's supposed to be like really close to how it was back in feudal Japan and things like that, rather than you're fighting gigantic snakes and oh look, this is a headless warrior and zombie. It's like it's supposed to be quite true to the source material, which I think is actually very interesting.
I mean, you can even see that in combat. Like your health is not that high. Like you can like up your health with some resolve, which you get from like killing enemies, which is like it doesn't really make that much sense, but like hey, you need something like that in a game. However, like the fighting mechanics, like it's so fun because you see all these enemies like they're holding their swords, and like if you come at them, like they're gonna like shy away from you, and they're gonna like defend, and then they try to stab you. And it's like it's so different from like many other games where like they kind of like horde attack you, but that would not make sense if like that happened in real life. Like no one's gonna like storm an enemy just like let's go for it, and I don't care if 10 of us die. Like no, you're gonna like kind of stay back. So for the hour that I played, yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I can't wait to play more. So yeah.
Cool.
I think that is
Right,
what have you played?
Should we proceed? Huh?
I think that's what have you played. Also, those were pretty much also the comments, I guess. So let's get into the topics of today, shall we? All right. So the very first topic. I mean, both are in the title right now, so they're both titular topics. But gaming is bad for kids, according to Joe Rogan, or maybe even for more than kids. Who knows? So last week, Joe Rogan spoke on his podcast, the Joe Rogan Experience, about video games, and it upset quite a lot of people. The main thing that people got worked up about was that Joe said that video games are a real problem because they are fucking fun. And because they're fucking fun, if you dedicate yourself entirely to video games, you won't get anywhere in life. As an alternative, he kind of described like, oh, get into jiu-jitsu, because if you get into jiu-jitsu, then like you can start training, and in 3 years' time, you might be aspiring to like get your own dojo, become your own master, and like have students, and then like buy a car and like get money like that. So that's kind of like what he said. In a response, like I know PewDiePie made a response video about it. I know Ninja came around and responded to it on Twitter. But it's been kind of like a big deal or something in like the gaming community. And I thought it was like an interesting thing to take a look at, because I also have like the entire thing right here. Like I kind of transcribed it so we can take a look at all the points. Drew, did you see or hear anything about this before the FrameCast?
I knew of it. Like I saw it do the rounds on the likes of Twitter. I saw it getting referenced by a bunch of people, and I saw the clipping question. Beyond the clipping question, I have not actually had much of experience. From my understanding, he basically says that getting seriously involved in video games basically means that you cannot achieve much beyond just wasting time.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't, from what I understood, is he didn't say that there was anything wrong with playing video games. What he said was that it wouldn't amount to anything, right?
Yeah.
Much like if you were to come home and just watch Netflix, there's nothing wrong with that, but you won't be able to make anything of it.
No, I think that's also where he came from. The podcast was actually kind of like about he was talking with someone who like does boot camps for kids, where like parents drop their kids off at a boot camp, and he just like drives them to like work hard and like not sleep a lot and like get used to like tough living, so that when they come back they can kind of like conquer everything. That was kind of like the thing they were talking about. And like the thing that he said with video games is like I think he was more talking about like his personal perspective of it. He enjoys video games. He's had like the Doom Eternal people on when the game came out, and he's like, dude, I fucking enjoy this. but it's like he says like yeah, like if you play video games like a lot, then like yeah, like basically you're sitting around all day and you're kind of wasting your time. And like the reason that they're like so dangerous is because they're really really fun and they're really good at keeping you there. I think one point that like um, I also think is an important part of it is that like you also like a lot of people want to bring this counter argument of saying like, oh
I've
yeah,
lost you.
okay,
Sorry,
good.
repeat that.
So a lot of people bring this counter argument of like, oh yeah, like but if you work very hard on video games, you can make it as like a professional streamer or a professional like esports player. Like, oh man, like it's like you can't compare that. Like people are working hard for it. But like you actually touched on like the competitive, like the successful thing of playing video games, and like basically was like if you want to be successful in playing video games, you have to be adaptable, and you also got to play multiple games, because where there's like soccer will be around forever, pretty much, or like for at least as long as our lifetime as a game that people will play as a sport. Things like Call of Duty and Fortnite, and these things kind of like tend to like come and go, and like people switch games more quickly. So, like, what are the odds that your video game will still be around for 5 years from now? So, like, that's kind of like the thing that he said. So, Drew, you personally, how do you feel about that statement or that idea?
So he's not wrong,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like in the sense of becoming so for example, we right now, we are
Mm-hmm.
artists, right? We are creating entertainment. We are, you know, liked for our personalities, you know, we do funny videos, so on and so forth. This is a form of art, right? This isn't a science, this is an art to
Mm-hmm.
me. And I treat like life much like university does, right? Or at least my university does, or the universities within the UK, which was um the thing you're studying is either an art or a science, right?
Mm-hmm.
So becoming a musician, that is an art. Becoming a biologist, that is a science. Becoming a mathematician, that's a science. Becoming a writer, that's an art. Becoming a psychologist, that's a science. You know, it's so that's how I see it. There's
Mm-hmm.
this split down the middle, right? Now, a science is very firm in making sure that no matter what, at the end of the day, you still have a revenue coming in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you're I go through this in my head. I'm thinking, well, what would a shelf stacker count as, right? But let's move forward from there. But you know, so if you go into a science like, you know, computers, right,
Mm-hmm.
then the likelihood of you getting a high paying job is very high, right? If you but getting a job where you are paid bloody more than the sun is really low. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you have that safety net of making sure that you still have work. Now, the thing about doing the arts is that when it comes to a job, you have to work just as hard as everyone else, but the risk is you get paid peanuts, or you become that so successful person you make millions, you make a killing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know if the Joe Rogan experience is Joe Rogan's only career option, right? Linus Tech Tips, I can easily envision that if he was to just sack off his YouTube channel, he still has the technical capabilities to take everything computer related and create like a firm to like, oh, we do server hosting, right?
Mm-hmm.
We do we build computers for you. We do this, that, and the other. Like he has a lot of technical know-how to take him elsewhere. I don't know Joe Rogan, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know nothing of it. I didn't even know what he looked like until this clip did the rounds.
Yeah.
what else can Joe Rogan do except for this podcast?
Well,
Do we know?
yeah, I mean, like he's trained a lot of martial arts before he like he's primarily a comedian. Though like he holds his comedy at a very high standard. He's like, oh, it's the art of comedy. I just do this little podcast, but probably by this point people know him more for his little podcast and less for his great comedy. Um, but like he does comedy, he does his podcast, and he also does like MMA commenting. So like the fight commentator. So like he has like a rather diverse thing of things that he does from which he derives income, and like with this Spotify deal of like $100 million rumored to be like, I mean, yeah, like he's pretty solid with him. But like I really do like the comparison you make with like the sciencey bits and the artsy bits. I would like put it more on the curve of like creativity, because like people often tell everyone that like, oh, everyone's creative. I don't think that's necessarily true. I don't think that everyone is necessarily creative, because like being truly creative is something which like I don't even know if I'm truly creative. I know that I have a creative element, but like, am I truly creative? Like, I don't know. But it's like it's a different way of approaching, because like creative people tend to like think a lot more outside the box, that they can't really work in structures, and then you have people that are not creative but like very orderly, I think, something like that. And they can work very well. Like, hey, if you give me a schedule, I can do exactly like what you tell me to do, and I can work on this, and I can just do this very well, just as you tell me to. And like you have that like these two opposing elements, where like you have one person that's constantly thinking out of the box, and you have the other person who's like very much like, if you tell me what to do, I can refine that process as perfectly as possible, and I can do that like very well. That's why you often see that like if someone comes up with a great new idea and starts a new company, like the company like boosts very high, and then like it needs to make an important switch where like the person that was like creative needs to kind of like give the reins over to someone that's a lot more orderly, because someone that's creative will come up with like 10 new ideas without reinforcing like the thing that they built, because like they're constantly like trying to think outside the box, and you actually need someone to like you know, bring some order into like the thing to like make it function for a longer period of time. So like I would describe those two things as like more orderly and creative. Like everyone is all kind of like on the spectrum of these things, so like don't think that like if you're only creative, like you can't be orderly, or if you're only orderly you can't be creative. It's like there's like it's like a grayscale thing. But like the thing is, like when it comes to creativity, it's a really hard thing to monetize, because as you said, like if I can do a job very well, like basically like I can just slot in, like people can tell me what to do, I'll do it right, and like bada bing bada boom, like you know, you're useful. But if you're creative and like you're constantly trying to think outside the box and like, how can I do this differently, how can I do this differently, like yeah, you're annoying. Like people don't like to like work with you, because like, hey, you know, I tell him to like write a Word document, and instead he makes like a silky smooth PowerPoint presentation. Like what the hell do I have for that? Because we're all trying to like add in our science papers and like turn them in, and now I have like 5 slideshows that I need to like incorporate into this text. Like this sucks. So like creative people often like don't work well with these orderly things. But when it comes to like doing this like structured thing, like it works out very well. But like as you said, you don't have the chance to like be super high paid, because if you can fulfill a role very well, then that's pretty nice. But like you're not like leading the ideas, you're just following the orders, let's say. However, if you're creative, like you have this thing where it's like, if you have creative ideas, like 90% of your ideas are not going to work. They're not going to turn out fruitful. If you go to any channel on YouTube, for example, like search by like the most popular videos, it's just a handful of the videos on the channel that will hold most of the views for the entire channel. 90 to 99% of these videos on the channel will just be like meaningless compared to like the top like doing videos. So what you see there is that like if you're creative, like you can have many ideas, but only like a few will work. And like if you have many ideas and only a few will work, then like there are many creative people, and only a few of them will like really hit the mark, because being creative also means that like you got to come up with something new, but you also got to come up with something which isn't just like too new, like inventing a tablet in like the 1990s and being Samsung, like inventing like a touch tablet and people being like, what the fuck is this shit? I don't understand this. It's like you got to be somewhat innovating, but also to an extent that people can understand it, because if people don't understand it, like great job, you were creative, but yeah, that didn't really work out. So I think that's a really interesting line to like split the two sides into it. I agree with that.
I agree to some extent of what you're saying, but I don't think that just because you are creative, you can't be orderly. I kind of got a feeling that was what you were saying, that there are polar opposites to this spectrum.
Well, it's like it's not like you're either creative or orderly. It's like you're kind of fall on like a more creative or more orderly. Like I don't know whether like I don't think orderly is the perfect correct term, but it's like if you had to choose, like, do I want my day to be like would I be more happy if my day was like filled in with like people give me a schedule and I do this, or would I be more happy with like I have a day and I can choose whatever I want to do and like I can like figure out how I do these things whatever like in whatever way, because like if you're more
So maybe what you're describing is between creativity and monotony,
yeah something like
right?
that. Yeah, I think that's a better term.
Because like, you know, again, I would argue that, sorry, I would agree with you and say that stacking shelves, that is a state of monotony, right? Doing mowing the lawn, you know, again, a state of monotony. Putting bread in a bag, you know, again, state of monotony. Some people like that stuff, and I'm not going to condemn them for it. Other people, like myself, want more out of life, and I cannot, for love nor money, like get behind doing some of this. Like, I don't think I would survive long if I was to do freelance video editing 24/7. Like, I think I would get really bored really quickly, right? But like, even in the sciences, so one of the jobs that I have as well, basically as my job, I am responsible for loads of our client servers, right? And I was struggling massively to keep an eye on all of them, right? I was struggling to make sure that nothing was going wrong for any of these servers, and I was always the last to know if something was going wrong, rather than being the first to know, right? So I built a system. I think I've told you this before, but I don't know if I've told our audience. I built a system that uses Amazon's API for our Amazon web hosted sites. And I built it in such a way that it collects the data from all our different client accounts, collates it all, and shoves it in front of me so I can see what's going on. So if someone turns to me and says, like, can you confirm that this website's working? First thing I do, I'll go have a look at the list, and it will warn me if there's a problem, right? One time, like the other week, we got a warning that one of the servers was running at 89% CPU utilization, right? I'm pretty sure anyone and everyone here who's experienced with PCs would know if your computer's that taxed, then it's gonna fall over soon, right?
Yeah.
So I stepped in and I restarted the web server before it actually crashed, right? So we went from 89% CPU utilization down to 13 almost instantly, right? And the client were none the wiser, right? They didn't know that I stepped in to sort out their stuff. We told them, we had to tell them, because you know they pay for this level of support. But yeah, what else is there? So I think my point is that even though you can be in the sciences and you have this very methodical thing of, you know, building applications or writing software, you know, doing all sorts of weird and wonderful stuff. So I'm mostly focused in the computing world, so I don't know, right? But about like building cars or anything, you know. But my point is that in the sciences, there is as much opportunity for creativity as there are in the arts. But one thing I do find with the sciences is that you get stifled so much more, right? by upper management. No, we don't want you to put this time into this thing. We don't want you to do this. We don't. No, you can't do this. No. You should be building this thing. You should be doing this thing. You should be doing. It's like, and it's only because my current company has actually trusted me to not waste time that I have been able to build this thing, and it's made all our lives super easy.
Yeah. However, like, there's two things I want to comment on. Then I want to bring it back to like the topic at hand. The first thing that you said is like, I can't understand like this monotonous task. I wouldn't be able to live in like doing the monotonous thing over and over again. I do think that there's definitely something to say for it. And I do want to put in like a little bit of a positive word for like, if your job is to do like the same thing over and over again. To me personally, like, it doesn't really align as much because I'm a little bit more like on the creative end. Like, I don't like to like do the same thing over and over again either. However, while doing this thing of like pursuing YouTube and Twitch and like spending a lot of time at this thing where like I'm trying to like basically like pitch bowls in the dark and like hoping that one just like hits like a light switch that will turn on a light for me to like go down. It is so nice. It is so nice if you can just like get into your job, just like do something without having to worry about it. You just do your job, you come home and you don't have to think about it anymore. And you can just spend the entire like rest of the day just like relaxing and just being like, oh, I don't have to worry about this. I don't have to worry about anything, you know? And then like you go back to work. And then like that's the only like it makes life a lot more enjoyable. Because you are not constantly thinking of like, is this gonna work? Is it gonna fail? So I think that that's a really, really good proponent. Also just like you know what you're in for. Like if I'm making a video, like the one day from the other, it's like a completely different video. Like it could be an entirely new like workflow, or it could be something where I'm working on for like 9 hours and it doesn't work and it's like, fuck. But like if it's the same, like it's the same general thing, it could be so like nice because you know what you're in for. So I wouldn't discard that. Like both sides have its positives and its like negatives. And one thing that I'm glad that you have like a company where you can work on now, where like you can like innovate on things. The reason why, like, most of the time, like, these, like, structures, like, kind of, like, hold things tight and, like, don't allow for, like, the creative minds, why creative minds don't work well in structures, is because, like, you can seriously fuck up. Like, as I said, like, most creative ideas aren't, like, good ideas. Like, only a few % of the creative ideas work. And maybe, like, your percentage works better for you than for other people. However, like, think about this. Think about, like, a Warframe channel, since we're going to be talking about Tennocon in a moment. Think about like a Warframe channel that does really well with like Warframe builds on its channel. Then like the orderly thing to do would just to be like continue to make new builds, continue to make new reviews about Warframe videos, like just do the same thing over and over again. And most likely you will have continued success, maybe not more or maybe a little less, but like still like relatively the same. Now, what if you were to be like, oh, let me be creative. Let me go and like make a video which is completely unrelated to this. Let me go make a completely unrelated video again, another again. Like you could actually like stifle the growth of that channel like pretty hard because people are like, what the hell is going on? I don't understand what's happening here. And they might stop watching. And that's like really dangerous. Like if an idea works, if a creative idea works, it could like propel your company from like, boom, from 0 to 100. But if it doesn't work, it can also just like make it come crashing down like pretty harsh, like especially when you're like trying to innovate like a very creative, like very important element. So that's why they're kind of like bringing it down. Now, why did we get into like the creative part, or like the more worldly part, and more of like the creative, like abstract artsy part? One thing that I think is really important is that even though like one thing that I think Joe Rogan brought forward was like that gaming is very addicting, and like the only thing you're doing is sitting down in front of your computer. I think that's something which you should pretty much like, yes, it's true, you're sitting in front of your computer, but like don't discredit games like that, especially with games like Nier Automata. Like the experience you get, like the experience of like seeing that story, the psychological experience, or like what's the thing. It's not like the reality, but like the reality as it appears to you. You know, stories are really, really important. Experiencing things on an abstract level is very, very important. Maybe even more so important than like experiencing the real world. Because as good as science is, like, it's great, like you can go and learn all the facts about the world, but there's more facts in your room right now than you can ever learn in your lifetime. So like it's no use learning all the facts in the world. However, like stories, especially like meta stories, are far more true and bring far more like home with us than any fact could. So like if you watch a really good movie, like you know that feeling. If you like watch a really, really good book, you know that feeling. Or if you play a really good game, you know that feeling. And whether that feeling may be from like playing a story game like Nier Automata, whether that feeling may be because you were playing with friends in like a PvP game together, whether that feeling may be you overcoming like your own odds in like this PvP ranked game. Like there is many ways in which you can like experience very important experiences, which aren't necessarily like physical experience, but more like experiences of the mind. Which like there's a way better word for this, which I can't come up with right now. But I think that those things are. Whenever someone comes across and says like, "Oh, game is bad for you because you don't do anything, but you sit in front of your PC all day and you don't move," it's like, yeah, that's true, but like, don't discredit games just for that, because like there is a whole other element on there which is super super important and like satisfies some very very important like desires of you.
One of the things that really kind of I will come back to what you're saying, but like one of the things that really upset me about what Joe Rogan said was I didn't like the fact that he used gaming as an example for this when you have instances of, oh god, what's the name of the damn gambling, right? There's one for you, right? You know, you can sit at a slot machine all day and you could just pull the lever, spend money, pull the lever, right? Surely that is leagues worse for you than gaming, right? I'm not talking like a little. I'm talking like this is something that people can really unhealthily fall into as a trap, right? You know, because gambling addiction is a real thing. Much like gaming addiction, gambling addiction is a real problem. Much like alcohol, being an alcoholism, right? You know, what's okay? So, are you telling me that going to the pub every day, like I used to be a bartender. Some nights I would have the same guy night after night coming to the pub, right? Like, are you telling me that is more
But would you let your kids do it, like go into the pub and go gambling?
Okay, fair enough. That does puncture a very big hole in my argument, so I completely respect where you're coming from there. But likewise, okay, fine, what about watching football? All right, just going home every day watching football.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, it's a similar problem. I think that like one thing that you really hit the nail on the head on with gambling though, is that I was thinking about this too. Like what is like he says like the problem is like games are the problem because they're fucking fun, and like yeah, like one thing that I find if I go back to myself, if I spend an entire day playing games like right now, I'll often like come back and feel bad at it. Like man, I could have like it was a lot of fun, but I could have done like something else. I haven't moved. Like if I spend an entire day like working out, like I feel like at least hey I worked out. If I spend an entire day working on something, I feel like hey I've worked on something. But like so like I can see that argument, but like what is the difference between like watching football and or like reading books all day, or like doing like other passive things versus playing games? And I think that gambling is really important that you brought that up, is because like games these days, and like yes I mean YouTube is also working towards that, and I think that's a danger too. Like these things are very much designed right now to keep you playing for as long as possible, especially the free to play games. And that's when we're talking about kids with not a lot of disposable income. Like that is like really attracting them right now. Like the Fortnites, like the Fortnites of today, like the Minecraft. I mean Minecraft is like not really because like that's paid. What else do you have? The War Zones, like all these free to play games, or like these like live service games where they're like trying to push monetization, or all the EA games like the FIFA games, like they're more and more designed to like keep you playing with very good psychological tricks to like keep on going, and like oh put on a skin, and then like you're teamed up against people with like better skins in Call of Duty, so you can spend more money on it and like keep on playing to like get those. So like not only are you like exposing yourself to something which is pretty entertaining, but you're also exposing yourself to something which is trying to like keep you going for as long as possible. And yes, television does that too, definitely. Although I think that like the problem with watching football all day is that like football is not nearly as much fucking fun like watching it all day as video games are, and like that
But
might just be my
it's like
opinion,
that. Yeah,
but
that's subjective.
like the engagement that you have with it, like like with like playing a game, is an extra level which like adds a lot to it. Like whether you sit and passively watch or whether you also engage with it. So like yeah, I think that watching football could be in the same camp. However, I do think that there's an extra element on games because like they also allow you to interact, and they're like many of them are also being made right now to keep you playing for as long as possible with very very clever psychological tricks, which is like for kids, but also for like many adults. That's like you're entering into like a zone where like you're kind of like being like there's a big predator that knows a lot of things, and like is playing you
But
very cleverly, and you're just sitting there like, oh shit.
but that's the same with things like football, with even with books,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where you actually have uh, the books composed in such a way that um, like fuck 50 Shades of Grey, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not to throw the author under the bus, but like I've heard nothing but negativity towards those books. Yet people still buy them,
Mm-hmm.
right? I've the Twilight movies, right? Again, it's like, do you know of the huge falling out between Disney and Robin Williams,
No, what happened?
right? So, Robin Williams was interested in playing the role of the genie,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it was explicitly stated in his contract that Disney were not allowed to use his name on any of the marketing for the Aladdin movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not 100% sure why. I think it may have been something to do with obesity and things like that, because, with these movies come like toys, right?
Yeah.
And toys that would be sold in, like the brand deals that would happen with things like McDonald's or Burger King. Like I remember like one of my friends, he used to buy, so it's like they used to go to McDonald's every week
Mm-hmm.
just so he get the crappy toy that would come with it, right? So the agreement was that Robin Williams would not have his name plastered over any of the marketing for the Aladdin movie,
Yeah.
but they did it anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, Robin Williams said, right, I'm not doing another movie with you, right? And it took them years to bring back Robin. It's like, eventually Robin Williams and Disney, before Robin Williams passed away, like they did actually, become friends once again.
Mm-hmm.
But you see movies these days, right? How often are all the marketing material, they just plaster the names of the actors. Oh, this is a good actor, so it'll be a good film, right? Like, I've gone and I've seen Liam Neeson films because he was the dad from Taken, right?
Mm-hmm.
Completely forgetting that Liam Neeson was Qui-Gon Jinn, right?
Yeah.
I've seen Non-Stop, Unknown was good. Non-Stop was kind of blah. And like they were paying him so much money that why would you say no to be in their crappy movie, right? His performance was phenomenal, but it was still a crap movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm finding more and more these days that with movies, they just put people's names in them and they just destroyed the franchise. Like, it's just like, or instead of putting all these special effects in and paying big money to have these actors in, why don't you actually create a good movie? John Wick, right? John Wick 1 and 2, fucking phenomenal movies. Third one, meh, mediocre. and it's because they had to they had to go to different locations, and they had to get all these actors in. 1 and 2 were the best movies. 3 was kind of meh.
So I think that there is like things in many sorts of media in order to like entice you to like keep spending time in it. I think one important thing when it comes to games is that what makes games a lot of fun is that it kind of like uses your dopaminergic system. So like it allows you to like very quickly like give you a task, get a reward, give you a task, like get a reward, or like maybe like spend more time in it, but then get a better reward. And you can see this in things like Minecraft, where like you can like start building like a small little house, and then you can like build that out and to like explore the world and like build an entire like big ass server, and it's really rewarding. So like you're having these things which normally like our brains were wired up with in real life in order to like in order to like interact with the world and progress you further into the world, and they've been abstracted into games, which is a really good thing, because like if you don't really have many of these things in real life, because you don't really have that much feedback in real life. Like if you do something, like rarely do you immediately get things like feedback of like, oh, I did something, I get a reward now. Like most of the time that takes a lot of time. And like games actually have a really great place in which like when you do something, most of the time you do get a reward like instantaneously, because that's what games makes games fun. However, the actions that you do still do remain to be abstract. So I think that's like another element where video games might like distance themselves from like regular media, where like if you're watching a piece of media or reading a book, of course there is this element of like portrayal where like you portray yourself on the character, and like seeing like the character do something, or like seeing like a cutscene of like a training montage like might give you like the same cathartic feeling at the end of like the movie. It makes you go like, oh yeah, it feels like something happened, because like however, I do think that like that's something which games do very well, which makes them a lot of fun. But if you spent your day having fun with like building something in Minecraft, or like training really hard within like a sports game or whatever, like that doesn't translate into the real world, and like then like by comparison the real world might seem a lot more boring because you don't get these rewards. So one thing that I'm kind of curious about is that like how do how do we see this, because this was said in like the context of like, would you let your kids play video games, like how do video games compare themselves to kids, like how would you how do you see like the place of video games and like the development of a child? I think that there's like, personally I think there's a really important element of like the connections, like the social connections that multiplayer games can give you, the story elements that like story games can give you, the lessons that it can give you for it, the hours of enjoyment and creativity of like things that Minecraft can give you. However, there's also this element where it's like it can like try and keep you to play more and more and more, as we've seen with these loot box systems and like many of the tricks that they employ to keep you playing. And it can also like hijack your like dopaminergic system, where it's like, because you can hit these goals so easily and get instantaneous feedback, like maybe real life might seem more boring to you, and then you're like, why would I bother? Why could I not just like go and play video games? So how do you feel about like games and like the development of a child?
If I was to raise a child, I would have no issue with them playing video games, as much as I would have them having no issue in participating in any sport, or watching any sport, reading books, or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
The important thing to me is they learn responsibility, right? So, one of the things that I like have learned from my own upbringing is that I will teach the kids the value of washing the dishes after the meal,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because, like I'm a bachelor, I live on my own, but sometimes I do let the crockery build up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Years ago, I was horrific for it, right?
Yeah.
I just let it all build up, and like, oh, I've run out. I guess I'll just order a pizza. Like I was really bad. Like
Mm.
the sense of keeping things clean. Like right now, I've got crap on the floor. I need to clean it up, right? But again, this was sort of like brought to me. This was I was brought up not to worry about these things. My mum, I love her to bits, but she would clean up after me. She would clean up after us.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't really instill in me the values and responsibilities that I should have been taught, right? The same with banking, right? Oh my God. Like the biggest thing for me when it comes to raising a child is teaching them how to do banking, because I fucked up, right? I massively fucked up because no one taught me how to do banking. And the difference between when my parents were doing it and when I started getting into it is massive, right? You know, when I found out that my parents had paid like 22 grand for their house, and I look at like my shitty 2-bedroom apartment, which is like 150 grand, like what the hell? Like banks have and the economy has really taken the fucking piss, right? The rate of growth has gone out. Sorry. My point, whole point, is the fact that I have no issue with any kid doing anything as long as it's responsible and does not cause any harm to themselves or anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I agree.
So no drugs, no what you call it, no murdering, no you know, bum fights or anything like that. They're not allowed. But on a more serious note, like, you know, loads of people may think I'm really harsh to say this, but I would not let my kid interact with the internet until probably 15 at the earliest, right? Like, I'm not talking about games, I'm talking about the World Wide Web, right? I'm talking about going on Facebook, going on Twitter, going on 4chan, going on Reddit, going on Pornhub, going on, you know, just anywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you really have to have this strong sense of, you know, being really solidly grounded to understand what the internet means, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I have heard horror story after horror story where kids have been bullied, they have had photos. Actually, here's a simple way of putting it: Jake fucking Paul. There you go.
Well, I think that one thing, like, I think 15 is going to be really tough, but like, good luck. Like, one thing that we have to realize is like, internet is like the real world, and that's the amazing thing about the internet. That's what was so freeing, because you could interact with the real world, and you weren't like censored by like whatever like television broadcasters were like putting on the television. Like, you could go out there and experience the real world. But that's also like that's what it is, and that's also brings the good parts and the bad parts out with it. So like, if you let your kids freely roam across the internet, like, it might be weird to say like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna like let my kids like freely roam on the internet until they're 15, but like, would you let your kids freely roam on like the real world before they're 15? It's like, I don't know. Like, I probably wouldn't, because like the real world has its dangers, and like I think that when you're raising a kid, like, I have no experience with it, I only have the experience of me being raised, is that like there is a lot of complexity in this world, a lot of like dangerous complexity in this world, and like your job as a parent is like to prepare your kid to interact, to learn to interact with like the complexity of the world. And when it comes to responsibility, I very much agree. I do think though that like it's really tough, like, to manage responsibility well, especially when it involves like a lot of complex parts. Like, when it comes around to like, hey, I should like do the dishes now, and then I can do this and I can do that. Like, those, like, scheduling the day might be like an easier thing compared to like, what are the repercussions of me like playing games right now and then like saying something in social context, or like what do I like, what are the repercussions of me like eating a lot of like bad food, and then working out a lot, or there's a lot of like different things in there. But it's something which is really good to teach. I think that when it comes down to trying to parent, like trying to force your kid to do something without giving them reason, without like having them think about it themselves and take the responsibility on themselves, you're going to run the risk that like once they get old enough, they're just going to be like, well, fuck you and your stupid rules. I'm going to go and find this out myself. And like we have it here at home, like we always have like cookie jars and sweets and stuff. We've always had that like open in the air and like everyone can grab whenever they want. But we never did. And like friends would come over and they would like eat the entire cookie jar and they'd be like, how can you guys live with like the cookie jar out? Why do you not eat all the cookies? And we're like, well, we understand if we eat all the cookies, we grow fat. We don't want that. It won't be fun to eat the cookies anymore. So like we'll just like we take one at a time. And it's like it's something that like you grow up with because like you have conversations about it. So I think that personal responsibility, especially when it comes to like the place of gaming with people, with children in development, is very much to make your kids understand like that this is something which needs to be done in moderation. And like once they understand, like we can hand the reins a little bit more to them. But yeah, I think it's definitely like I don't think there's a good in game like it's necessarily entirely good gaming. I don't think it's necessarily entirely bad. I think there are definitely like things that we should take into consideration when it comes to like the way that they're really, really fucking fun, the way that they're really, really using their dopaminergic system to like make you feel good about it and want you to play more. Because god damn, I can play hours and hours of Minecraft or Warframe or whatever, like because like these rewards are amazing. But at the same time, like it's also something where like you can turn around to and be like, shit, but now I didn't do like the things I was supposed to do. I didn't do the dishes. So like those are things which like we should be wary of, but like never discard them because there's so much worth in the games themselves. Yeah.
No, I do completely agree with you. It is super important to be able to be responsible as an adult to teach your kids, you know, how to act and behave, and because when they go out on their own, they need to be able to look after themselves, right? I see that I can't read that name. I don't. What's that name?
Raikou, Seth, or Jin? The same.
No, Jin. Right.
Jin.
Okay. So, Jin says, I agree with Xenoganium with this one, although the one thing I would do differently is supervise them on the internet on what they watch. Like, a part of me feels that you can't have such a heavy hand with kids because if you're constantly looking over their shoulder and you're not giving them the opportunity to not trust, like if you don't show that they can be trusted to do what they want, then do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like your job as a parent is to like prepare your kids for like the real world, because like you can only shelter them for so long. So that means that like you gotta work and try to like teach them about, hey, be responsible, learn your morals and values, learn about this world, and because of what you understand, like make proper judgments, hopefully. And I'm gonna try and do my very best to like teach you the way that I think things are like the best way, I'm gonna try and teach you like the way that I see the best way to interact with this world. And given that, I'm gonna put my faith in you that you will try and do your best. And if things fuck up, I'm always gonna be here for you to help you out. And I'm not gonna be like some parent that's gonna tell you like you always do good. If you do bad, I'll tell you do bad, but I will help you find a way to get better. Like that's something you want to give your kid, because like if you're starting to become too controlling, then like you're becoming something where like they can like be like, oh fuck this, and then like they run off from you and they run away from you, and at that point like that's really tough. It's a fine line, and like parenting is a really, really tough job, and I have no experience in it at all, so like I'm not gonna comment on that too much, but like yeah, it's a tough thing. And like gaming, for as fun as it is, like I can very much imagine that for people like Joe Rogan, who is a dad who has like a bunch a few daughters of his own, who are like growing up in this world with many like enticing games, it's a worry. Anyway, those were just things that Joe Rogan said.
I thought you were about to say, with so many enticing boys. God damn those boys, so enticing. Oh boys. But yeah, you didn't go there.
No, because like we've already talked quite a bit about this. Are you happy moving on to a quick intermediary topic before we go to Tennocon?
Yeah, if you want to go for a quick one.
All right, so this was something which I just read on Twitter and YouTube. I saw a video about it too. But apparently, remember the Marvel Avengers game? that's coming out.
Oh god, I know what you're going to talk about.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so like
yeah.
there's a Avengers game coming out, and Sony PlayStation 4 has the exclusive addition to the game of having Spider-Man in the game, because Spider-Man is Sony property, so it will only be on the PlayStation and will not be on the Xbox One and the PC version. And I don't know whether they're doing Switch version, but it won't be on the other console version. If you want to have Spider-Man in your game, you gotta be on PS4. How do you feel about that, Drew?
So that's not actually accurate. Look, because it's a Square Enix game, I don't think Sony are fun. I actually, is it a Square Enix game?
Yes, I think it is.
Because, but I don't think that Square Enix can make that choice.
No, I don't think they can.
So I think it's down to what what's the name? Basically how Sony buy into Square Enix saying like, oh, we will pay you this sum of money if you make Spider-Man exclusive to. I mean, they may have to get the right. Yeah, I don't know, but like, I could be wrong entirely, but all in all, I think it's a huge dick move.
It's
right?
it's a bit weird. It might also have come from like like maybe they didn't have the rights to Spider-Man, and then Sony came around like, hey, we're gonna do you a favor, and you're like, you can have Spider-Man on our platform because we own the Spider-Man. You can have Spider-Man on our platform in the game, but it's kind of like it's been likened to like the Epic Games Store, where like Epic Games went with like the exclusives on PC. It's like, yeah, I can kind of see company executives being like, it's a good move because people want Spider-Man, they'll get it to our platform. But it's just so weird where it's like, yeah, just like on PC with Epic Games, they're like, oh, you could get this game wherever you want it, but now it's only on Epic Games. Fuck you.
But here's the big thing: the fact that Epic Games did that, and yet how many of the games ended up coming on Steam after explicitly stating that they will never leave the Epic Game Store.
I don't have the numbers on it, but listening to you, it sounds like a lot.
Well, no, like, oh god, Hades was supposed to be a Epic Game Store exclusive, like 100% not on anything apart from the Epic Game Store. And then, like, one day, it's just on Steam.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, fuck, if I had known that, I would have never... Oh, Satisfactory was the other thing, right? I was really interested in Satisfactory, but the second they turned around and said, oh, yeah, they need to... So they're now going to bring it out on Steam. I was like, fuck, why the hell did I bother?
Mm-hmm.
It just... Yeah.
Yeah. It's strange. But yeah, that just popped by quickly. I don't think there's much more to get into because we don't have that many facts.
Actually, one thing I will say is because of this, I am a lot less inclined to actually get the Avengers game. Like, I was genuinely thinking of getting it for the PC, but honestly, now I'm not going to bother because, like, so what happens when... Because all the characters sort of like interact with each other, does this mean that an entire section of the game is just not accessible to a bunch of players anymore?
Yeah,
like, that's like saying, it's like the C ending of Nier Automata isn't available to everyone. I'm sorry, fuck off.
Like it depends on like how it was written in, like whether Spider-Man was like thought to be in, or whether they were just like, like we're gonna add, like there is like an addition on PS4. It's strange though. Like, it doesn't make people happy. Like, I don't think many people that were like, oh, I only have an Xbox One and I play all my games on the Xbox One. Oh shit, I'm gonna buy an entirely new PlayStation 4 now so I can play this one game. I don't think they're all gonna do it. And I think like the extra salt in the wound is that this is like gonna be like a live service type game where like more Avengers characters, like Marvel characters, will be coming in. Like, we're talking Spider-Man, which is quite a big character. So like that one not being in there is weird. Anyway, you want to move on to Tennocon?
Right, Tennocon.
Let's go.
Okay, so first off, did you see any of Tennocon?
I watched it yesterday on stream, so I have.
Oh, really?
I've seen Tenno Live, like the 1 hour 20 minutes. I haven't seen anything besides that.
Right. Okay. So there is plenty to discuss. So I'm gonna primarily focus on the art of Warframe. So the panel that was pre-recorded, that was like at the beginning of the event. So they've shown off the 44th broken Warframe Zaku, right?
Mm-hmm.
They've shown off some of his abilities, which looks freaking awesome. They showed off a bunch of stuff with that. They've also shown off the next Warframe with a concept art and a model, which is the Alchemist Warframe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So not a whole lot is known about the Alchemist Warframe. I don't believe they've even specified the abilities or anything like that. The next Warframe, however, this was really interesting to me at least, is Wraith. So Wraith is a 3-year-old concept by Liger Inuzuka. And Liger Inuzuka basically stole the entire show, right? For this panel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because he was featured so much. His Hydroid Deluxe skin was shown off. His he's apparently working on I think he's either working with DE more or he's working for DE permanently. I'm not 100% sure because I think what Jeff said is sort of like up to interpretation. So that was some cool stuff. And the interesting thing from DE side is that Zaku, the Alchemist, and Wraith are all supposed to come out by the end of 2020.
Okay. I was thinking you were about to say like they're all supposed to come out August 25th. I was like, what? No way.
Yeah.
Because like that was one thing which I think was a really good thing from this like Tennocon was that like everything they've kind of shown in like the Tenno Life thing is kind of like coming out within a month. If like if what they're saying is like right and like basically because they're releasing on all platforms, I have very little doubt.
You have very little doubt, or you doubt it?
I have very little doubt that it's not gonna happen on that time. Like it's like normally when they would announce like, oh, a new war is coming out in December, it's like, yeah, I have a lot of doubt whether that's gonna happen. Now I feel a little bit more secure about it. I feel like yeah.
So what else? They showed off the new Zephyr Deluxe concept. So apparently the original Zephyr Deluxe by DE Carry is still on the way at some point, but Liger Inuzuka has come up with a new design, which gave me very much Evangelion feels. It gives Loz very much Wipeout feels. It's very much down to interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
So what else is there? Nightwave Season 3 will end with a boss fight and a custom sword. So you'll actually get to fight Nihil. I don't know how much of the Nightwave that you are invested in, if at all. I assume not.
I haven't really done it.
Cool. We also got to see the concept art of the new Infested we see in the Heart of Deimos, which was really cool. They talked through some of that stuff, but we'll get into that in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
New Infested claw weapons and arm cannon. Now, I love the arm cannon mostly because it was what I wanted the shadow to be, like this big stonking massive thing on my arm, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the shadow wasn't that, and we got something like that paled in comparison. So very happy with that. Then we got to see the new Infested Kubro, Kavat, or wolf. It looks, the muzzle is way too long for a cat. And also the new Infested drone, the domestic drone. So I was actually very happy with that. Then we have all the Tennocon panel stuff. Do you want to talk about that, or do you have notes for it, or shall I go over my notes?
Well, let's get into like 10 Alive. I think there is there is definitely some interesting angles to go at, and like I'm happy for you to take the reins.
So one of the things was they showed off the new Lotus statue, which I will be ordering probably next month. I'm not entirely sure. Pre-orders are available until what was the October 1st, but shipping won't happen until May 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And very much so, they are planning on keeping this pre-order. I think the Excalibur Umbra was also made to pre-order as well. So unless you pre-ordered it, you didn't get it. What else is there?
Well, I think that like when talking about like Tennocon, I think that one of the big one of the big things to approach this thing was that going into this, like I wasn't quite sure about like how to approach this Tennocon. I wasn't. 2017 was a really great year because like they had an amazing reveal and like we all knew something was coming, and that was like a brand new open world which has never been seen before. It was like, oh my god, this is amazing. Then 2018 came around, and 2018 was like, okay, we had a big massive open world reveal last year. What can it be this time? And it was Fortuna. It was even better with like the song that get everyone playing and like, oh yeah, here we go. New War and stuff. And then like 2019 came around, and like we already felt like, okay, they were kind of like lacking behind on things. Like, is our things gonna be done? Because like they also showed New War, but we haven't seen anything. And then like it was Railjack again, and it was like New War and Blaze of the Fury. And then like following that, we only saw like Railjack come out, and like New War is kind of like going on, not really quest out. Like this time I was very much like, you know. We'll see. I don't know whether many people shared that opinion, but for me it was very much like I'll see what comes, because like if they're gonna like do this big announcement of something brand new again, which is like gonna come out after like Blaze of the Fury, it's like, well, like you can announce that next year. So like I was really curious, also because they pushed it back a month. Like what are they gonna do? I took a more like, not like I'm super stoked for what's gonna happen. More like, okay, I'll see. And I think that one thing that they did very well this year is keeping it very down to earth, and while at the same time like excelling in things that they do right. So what I mean with that is that like there wasn't a giant like let's walk through the gates of Cetus moment. It was more like, hey, let's start out with like fulfilling small little promises, like the Hydra Prime Trader, which is a really good thing. Even though that might be a meme, maybe even though that might be like, oh yeah, it's not really worth that much. It's like, yeah, I mean, like showing like the care of like, oh, let's go back to Hydra Prime. Like that feels good. That feels really good. And then like going into this thing where it's like, okay, hey, we have Heart of Deimos. It's like, okay, what's that? It's like, well, it's an open world, but it's like smaller, and we have procedurally generated caves, which like has been something that's been talked about, and there's actually a planet around it.
Right. You know me, I love my procedurally generated caves, and we haven't had any yet. They did not explicitly say procedurally generated caves. They said random. They said like they mixed up things like that. It wasn't necessarily procedurally generated. I do not want to get my hopes up to then go into this cave system as like, no, it's all bloody same. It's all bloody same. So I'm sorry to
yeah, well, like I mean, like it's at least going to be different sometimes. Hopefully, if they say random. But basically, like, it wasn't like, let's blow everything out of the water, let's do something that no one has ever seen before, which might not work. It's like, hey, we have something which like, it's very, very, looks completed, and it's going to be out, like, in a month. And, like, I think that this thing, which might not have been, like, the most technologically, like, advanced, insane thing, but just, like, a step back, fulfilling some older promises, and, like, doing something where it's like, hey, this is something we're confident in, and, like, this seems like there's something confident in, that makes me feel good. So, like, I think this humble approach was a really, really good step, and it turned out much better than I thought. How about you?
No, I completely agree. God, how do I... Yeah, I mean, I think it's right for them to turn around and say, we're only going to show you stuff that is coming out this year. I mean, the interview with Jeff Keighley. I mean, do you know who Jeff Keighley is?
No idea.
He actually created the Video Game Awards.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know if they're Steam Video Game Awards or just the Video Game Awards, but he basically inspired them to even happen, which I thought was bloody fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because like there are so many people out there that so the games were looked down upon for the longest time, and like we have amazing titles like Nier Automata. What's that? Xeno's pimping Nier Automata yet again? Yeah. So we have amazing titles like Nier Automata, and yeah, I mean, there are loads. Like, I love the fact that Heart of Deimos. Sorry. The whole point was the interview. Sorry, my bad. The whole point of the interview was at one point in time, Steve turned around and said, like, we done fucked up, right? We done fucked up revealing the Plains of Taviri. We done fucked up announcing Railjack early. We've done fucked up announcing the new war twice, and it still hasn't come out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that them acknowledging that and learning from it is by far the most important thing, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, that carries the most weight.
Yeah, definitely. And like it was a great year to do it, because like I mean it was kind of already like different with Corona. But even like this setup where it wasn't like on a stage in front of a crowd, wow, everyone's screaming. It was more like, hey, you know, we're just telling you guys this through like a dev stream. This kind of setup was yeah, it felt good. Like I think even like about the new war, like we spoke about that yesterday a little bit on stream. It's like I'm really curious as to what's gonna happen with that. I don't want to get too much into this, but let's like quickly touch on it. Like they've kind of said that like the new war is like they promoted new war as a quest, which like a lot of people are anticipating new war as a quest, and then they turned around in December or so and said like, well, the new war isn't necessarily a quest, it's more like something that's going on now. So like if I get that right, is that right? Did they say something like that? Like it's something that's been happening. It's not really a quest, it's something that's been going on.
I think that's true. I think part of the problem is that they wanted the new war to be this like introduction to Squad Link, but it didn't happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Squad Link hasn't fully happened yet. I still think they should do Squad Link. I don't think they should drop Squad Link in the slightest.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, push Squad Link before the likes of Railjack. I think realistically, they got pressure from higher ups to whatever they announce, it's got to be an open world, right? Because they sort of, I didn't know this, but you know how is it Liao Tech? I can't remember the name of the Chinese company, but when they bought like 49% of the shares or something like this, apparently the CEO of Digital Extremes sold his remaining shares to them.
Mm-hmm.
So they pretty much own the company. And I wouldn't be surprised if they basically said, you know what, successful for you, open world stuff. Do more open world stuff, right? I wouldn't be surprised if that was the push. And if it is, so be it.
Actually, speaking of that,
Go on.
okay. Let's see how much we want to get into this, because there's more to talk about with Tennocon and stuff. But like, have you heard about the deal where like Tencent is pretty much like buying Liu and thus acquiring Warframe?
I don't know what it means. I don't know. Like, for example, in Sony's case,
Mm-hmm.
if Sony were to be bought out by another company, actually no, let's say Fox. Let's say Sony was going to buy out Fox Entertainment. That's not how it's happened, but Fox owned X-Men and Fantastic Four, right? So Fox ends up being sold to Sony Entertainment, right? The really interesting thing is that the way the contracts are written is that Disney or Marvel would regain the production rights of the Marvel, of X-Men and name of the other company, Fantastic Four, right? So I don't know, like, theoretically, no, this wouldn't happen if Tencent bought Liao Yu, then they own Digital Extremes, right? But I don't know if there's any like weird clauses in the contract that would allow them to escape any buyouts.
Yeah, like I wonder about that because like one of the things which is like two things which really stand out for me is that like Warframe is Liyu's largest title, accounting for 80% of their revenue generated in 2019. So it's like it's not like a small fraction of Liyu. It's like a big part of Liyu. Um, and also, like as you said, like they own 97% of the shares of Digital Extremes. So it's like it's a really big part of like Digital Extremes that Liu owns, and like if and like Digital like Warframe is like a really big part of like the revenue generated for Liu. So like if Tencent sees value in Liu, it would be it would be weird if that value wasn't like the 80% that Warframe holds. I do honestly hope that there is some sort of clause because I am not a personal fan of Tencent. Just in the way that they approach certain things, just in the way that they influence certain things. I'm not a big fan of it. But yeah, like I really hope it's the case. But seeing like the way that these things are these two things, it's like I don't know, because like it's such a big part of Liu. Like why else would you be buying Liu? Maybe there's another 20%, which is like super important. But like it would be great if that could be solved.
No, I think the reason why Liu Yu, sorry, Liu, I can't fucking pronounce it. Apologies. I think the reason why they're selling is because so much more of the company is just failing. Right? I've heard rumor that Warframe made a loss last year, right? But I'll be honest, I don't believe that to save my life. Right? Like
I do think I do think that Warframe has had like a rough year last year. If you just take a look at like the way that like numbers like Warframe isn't dying. It's not a dead game, like God no. But we like if you saw Railjack being like the big update of the year, the way that like did not break records and actually like wasn't even all that visible over like the December curve, which is like always happening. It was a rough year when it comes to Steam numbers. And that will probably has also been seen into like sales. Though I don't think that like it's like there are still so many people playing that like I don't think that the game is dead. Also like Tribal says it's like le you. The way that I would put it like a thing is like what if a Frenchman were to say you le you, like le you, like that should probably be it. But yeah, it's I can imagine like I can't imagine that they've made a loss, but like I can't imagine it's been like not an easy year, not the best year, but ever.
No, I completely agree. I don't think it's been their best year, but at the same time, I do not think their worst year. And I'm just trying to see. Oh my god, that spike! So I'm just looking at the number of players they had. Hold on, is that the highest number of players of all time? Oh my god! Right, they had the highest number of players of all time during Tennocon. That was hilarious. Because they all got you to log in, right? But then it just drops down again.
Yeah, well, like that's something which is so freaking Warframe to do because like it's literally their directory as well, like their Twitch directory. Whenever like they go live with like a dev stream, it's like their charts, boom, dev stream, boom, and it's straight down again, which is like. Yeah, you picked in like you picked with like 44,000 people in your charts, but you're back to 1,000 again. So so like yeah, like I mean like they did that rather cleverly, especially like throwing things in like the relays to actually like get people to like join in. Like that's good. Like that's smart tactics. Good job.
Not just that, but I think it was just nice to be able to get like more of a feel for the stuff that was coming in just a few weeks.
Yeah.
Right. I'm happy, right? But I do not want people to get their hopes up, right? I think from what I've gathered, more people are getting super, super hyped for Heart of Deimos, even though a lot of it is what we've already had in the past.
Yeah.
Right? You know, we've had great vocal talent. We've had new and amazing environments. We've had fishing, we've had K drives. I think a lot of what we're going to see is kind of rinse and repeat of what we've had in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I personally don't think that's a bad thing, but I do think that players getting too excited, like, oh my god, it's fucking Heart of Deimos, oh my god, ah! And when they see that it's just the same thing again, their attitude's going to tank. And with a tanked attitude, you get pissy messages on forums, Reddit, Twitter, and there's no need for it. It's just going to hurt you mentally.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's good to like take a step back sometimes if you're too worried about like what's coming out and stuff. I've done that over the last year, especially after Railjack. I've taken a step back, and now I'm like, hey, if this comes up, I'd be happy to play it. And like the thing that appeals to me with Heart of Deimos is that like it actually feels like the completed thing, as far as I've seen. So like in the sense of when Plains of Island came out, it was more like a proof of concept. It felt like here's an open world, but there's not really a story behind it. It's kind of like
can I? So first off,
Yeah.
I want to interject because first off, you said like if you're too worried about it, take a step back. I'm saying if you get too excited about it, take a step back. But I want to smash you're not too worried. What are the rewards?
I don't care about the rewards really.
No, but like what you get for doing it?
For playing Heart of Deimos,
Yeah.
I don't care. It's a cool new
My
environment.
point is, but my point is that a lot of people, they do care very heavily about what the rewards are of a new environment. Like, you go to Cetus, the rewards were the Zors, right? You go to, and the Amps, right? You go to Fortuna, the rewards were the kit guns and more amps and the ability to carry. No, wait, no, that came in later. Yeah, and some warframes,
Mhm.
right? But thus far, we have heard nothing for Heart of Deimos, what the rewards are. Now, speculation.
That's a good point. I just wanted to say that. That's a really good point because I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah. So, and this is the thing. Like, so, I mean, people may say, "Oh, well, we get the Helminth chair. Do we get the Helminth chair, or is that something that's on the side?" Right? Do we have to go to do what you call the Heart of Deimos to actually get Audrey 3? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what else is there? So it's really, I think it's important to realize that even though we were shown what looked like a really complete product, if you really step back and think about it, what were we actually shown, right?
I think that like a really good like I just want to reiterate on your point, like just like get on it a little bit and then like move on to like the next thing, like what you were gonna get to. I think that a really important thing, which you point out, is that what we had, like, if we go back in time, what we had with, like, the second Dream, we got the focus system, which was very, very crucial, like, a very big change within Warframe to, like, the way that you approach the game, the way that you interact with the game. I don't quite remember. Oh, yeah, the War Within brought us, like, the Tenno movement within the game, which, like, again, very, very big. Like, maybe not as big as the focus system, but, like, kind of equally, because, like, it meant that this thing was a lot more useful. Then for Plains of Island came in, and you got like amps, and you could fight Eidolons, which was like maybe not as big as before, but like very big, very, very, very big compared to like well, it was still like rather crucial. Like people are using amps right now to like fight in regular gameplay. It was rather crucial. And then afterwards you got Fortuna, which we already had amps, but now we got kit guns. And goddamn, if you've seen like how balancing around kit guns has been over the past couple of years, those were pretty damn good guns. Pretty damn good influential guns. So like that had an impact as well. Like the impact has like maybe a little bit more declining over time. Like I don't know kit guns whether you can place them on the same degree as like a focus system, but they were still rather important. So like if you're out to like revolutionize your gameplay, like what is it? Like the only candidate which you might bring up is like the like swapping Warframe abilities thing with like the chair. But is that like part of the thing? Who knows? But yeah, it's like that's the thing. Like, what is this Heart of Deimos gonna bring to the table, which is new, or is this gonna be like more of a repeat of the same? And yeah, actually, I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, I mean, like, don't get me wrong. It is DE's job to market stuff in such a way that you get excited for it, right? There's nothing wrong with that, right? But we have to temper our expectations only because we may end up with... No, we're not going to end up with this. But, for example, Melee 2.0. Melee 2.0 was originally supposed to be just a new animation set, right? But when the community went absolutely mental on the forums and on YouTube, the fact that we're getting a new melee combat system, you know, DE went, oh, what can of worms have we just opened? And they had to go and redo the entirety of the melee combat system.
Yeah, I think that's also a part of like many times when things were overhyped, like they kind of allowed the overhyping. I don't think that there was like too much to be overhyped about because it was like they were pretty straightforward, saying like, this is what it looks like, this is what it is. And I think that what appeals to me a lot is that for me, it feels like Planes of Island didn't feel life to me because it was just like you're dropped in there and just like more of like a proof of concept kind of deal. And then like Fortuna felt a little bit more alive, especially with like the song that they did. But then at the same time, it kind of like just cut off somewhere. It was like, all right, well, this just kind of exists in like limbo, and like here we go, have fun. And then Railjack felt completely detached to me. Railjack just like kind of alienated me more than like anything else because I was like, wow,
what?
What is this? Oh, the map. Like, did they actually change any missions? Like, are there new like different missions now, or is it still the same mission for like all the Railjack?
No, it's still the same.
Oh boy, but yeah. So
yeah.
So like that just felt like an entire like brush job, and this now feels like I don't necessarily care about like whether there are new missions on like the planet because there's an entire planet with like Heart of Deimos. I don't care like how big the open world is. The thing that I care personally about that like gets me like, oh yeah, I'm actually interested in this is that like it feels alive. It's like a plane's just appearing on a planet doesn't feel alive, but like this thing like they also said something like we had to steer to Mars and then here we have a planet. It feels like, okay, this is like here in the world and like this is a whole thing and like let's explore it, let's see what's there. And like there's characters on there that interact that have their own little personalities. It's like it feels like a whole thing which like just like naturally grew in the universe and like feels like something worth exploring rather than something which like conjured up together as a proof of concept or like a better worked out proof of concept or Railjack. And yeah, like I enjoy that personally. I do agree with you. Like, don't read too much into it. Like, don't think too much about it. Like, I think that one thing that like it's done very well over like especially Tennocon 2019 with like many promises not being fulfilled. It just made me realize like Tennocon is, after all, one giant advertisement. Like they're advertising their game, and like as long as you keep that in mind, that's their goal. Their goal is to advertise their game to you, like they get you to play it. It's like just like that's good because then like you realize like okay, some things may be overhyped, but like there might be some useful information in this. And like yeah, useful information is fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I think like just by you saying that, you have tempered your own expectation, right? You have realized that, yeah, I'm looking forward to it, but there's still so many unknowns, and there's nothing wrong with that. We just need to not get ourselves worked up.
Yeah, well, just in the same way, like I look at it in the same way as I look at Cyberpunk. It's like I'm really looking forward to Cyberpunk, like maybe even more.
No, it's gonna be the best game ever. There's no way on earth.
I'm looking way more ahead to like Cyberpunk than like this Warframe update. But like, so like I'm not gonna look at previews. I'm not gonna look at things. I'm just gonna be like I'm just gonna experience it, and we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it fucking goes. One thing that I wanted to ask you about is this is something I saw that I think is an interesting element. We talked about it in stream yesterday a little bit, but all right. So the new thing where like you can change out Warframe abilities on other Warframes. How do you feel about that?
I can't escape this. I can't fucking escape this. Everyone keeps on talking. Okay. I have little to no opinion on this because I have not used it. I have not touched it. I don't know what the system's going to be like.
All right, so
I've got.
so
Hold on.
let's not get into
Hold
the
on.
details of the system then.
I wasn't going to.
Yeah,
So what,
no.
let's get into it, or let's not
get into the details of the system.
Like, again, this is where the whole tempering of the expectations things come in, because I've had so many people theory craft with me, like, oh man, can you just imagine X and Y or Q and T, and just like, no, I cannot imagine these things, because I am not going to drive myself insane. I think I saw, not to throw him under the bus, but I saw Tribros actually put up a list on Twitter of all the abilities that he thinks are going to come from Warframes. And it's like, dude, why do this to yourself? Yeah. Why, you'll get some sense of gratification if you're right, but at the same time, you may just make yourself frustrated if you're wrong. Hell, you may have just done DE's job for them.
So, like, the approach that I kind of wanted to take is not necessarily talking about the specifics about what abilities will work with what. The thing that, like, opened up in my mind in the instant that I saw it, first off, was like, because I didn't know that, like, it was only a few abilities, so I was like, what, you can just, like, change everything out? It's like, okay, what's the meaning of Warframe now? Because you can just, like, have, like, an Ember with, like, all Falcor powers, but that's not the case. But so, like, let's not get into that. The first thing that I kind of thought was, like, okay, there's an extra layer of complexity. How do I feel about it? Because most often, like when it came to Warframe in the early stages, the more complex it got, the better it got. Because, like, at the start, we only had, like, the corpus cells out with the Grineer. You only had, like, the standard Warframes and, like, the standard gear. It's like, if we added, like, an extra dimension of, like, we have the Grineer now. We have like the corpus cells and the Grineer cells, and we have the Infested. Like, that makes the game better, because, like, it adds more to it, and, like, a lot of the systems that have been added to it make the game feel more real, and, like, they added more to it. But now, like, I'm kind of starting to wonder, like, I'm not saying that this is the point, but I'm like, this is the point where I'm starting to wonder, where it's like, how many levels of complexity can we still go down when it comes to, like, power systems? So, like, when it comes to Warframe, like the way that I was thinking about this is, previously, when I had to explain, like, Warframe to, like, a new player, it's like, hey, okay, so you have your character, which you can interchange. You interchange them, they have, like, different abilities, and then you can rank that character up to rank 30, and that character also has, like, two pistols, like, 2 shooters, and, like, one melee weapon, and you can, like, bring these levels all up to 30, and they'll get more powerful. And then you can also add mods to it, which are, like, little modifications, which, like, you can up the mods a little bit, and, like, by doing that, you can make these things more powerful. And then you can also swap out different variants of, like, weapons and stuff, but, like, just play around with that. You'll, like, those were kind of like the levels of complexity of, like, power systems. Like, you could change out your character, you could have a different level with it. You could do that the same with, like, guns and, like, melee weapons, and you could throw mods at it. That was kind of like the thing that you had then. And now we've added, like, a focus system, which adds another layer of complexity, because, like, now you can have the right focus tree and, like, bring out your focus powers to make yourselves not even more powerful. Then you can also have, like, Forma and Exila slots, and you have the Umbra Forma now. So, like, you now also have the Umbra mods to put on there, which you have to farm the Umbra Forma for, and, like, max these things out. Then you also have Arcanes, which you can put on there. You have Arcanes for your kick guns. You also have Rivens, which is like, well, now you don't just have, like mods, but you also have, like, Rivens, which have changing stats, which you can, like, reroll for, like, a specific weapon. And now you can also, like, choose a Warframe with a specific ability on that Warframe. And I'm like, what if I'm going into recruiting chat right now, and, like, they're looking for, like, a run to do, and I'm, like, a brand new player, and they're like, oh yeah, we want you on, but you gotta have, like this weapon and this weapon with these mods, with these Umbro mods, with these Arcanes, and then with this and this. I'm like, there's so much complexity now. Like, is that a good thing? Or, like, are we getting to a point where, like, maybe we should kind of, like, slow down?
So I think the important thing is to recognize, first off, there are communities out there that will support anyone. For example, like, if players, like, our audience right now, if you're interested on PC to join my clan, you're more than welcome to. I play on the weekly. I wouldn't say it's the most active clan in the universe, but when new stuff comes out, we do come together. And the big thing is we do the event-based stuff. Like, were you involved with us at all during Scarlet Spear?
I didn't play that, so
Okay,
No.
so just to say,
Yeah.
like, I would organize multiple squad-based incursions to deal with flotility. You know, so like I like managing that kind of thing. If you are interested in joining my clan, just shoot me a DM on Twitter or on here or whatever, and you know I'll hook you up, or on Discord. But going back to what you're saying, I think that there is a big need for this, right, for this system, because there are lots of abilities in Warframe that are not for everyone, right? Again, when I think it was Vault the Hero turned around and said, like, you know, name an ability you would like to see reworked. And I said, oh, sorry, name an ability that you think is entirely useless. I say Nova's Wormhole. Now, apparently there are some people out there that say Nova's Wormhole is amazing for speed running.
Mm-hmm.
I still say it's a piece of shit, right? It's not worth the time or effort, right? And the one thing for me is this gives me the opportunity to
To
swap
change these
out.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I don't know what I'm going to change it for, but I know I can get rid of it. And I think this also gives DE the opportunity to look at the abilities and just go, right, 90% of the players have that play Nova have swapped out Nova's Wormhole, right? You know, this is a point of contention. We should address this, but we don't have to do it immediately.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that will be really valuable for DE, and will also, because of that, be valuable for the players as well.
I think that's a very good point. I hadn't thought about the thing of like, oh, like what if I have a Warframe of which ability I think is useless? That I think is a good approach. I'm just more like if I look at this, I'm starting to feel like Call of Duty vibes in the sense of as I've said before, like my Call of Duty golden age for me personally lies with like Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops 2, and Modern Warfare 3 because those were the times when I got into it. And like I've never been able to get into the newer ones because like what you had there when you wanted to play multiplayer is you had a few sets of parameters. You had like primary weapon, you had a secondary weapon, you had 3 perks, and you had like 2 throwables, and you could put like 1 or 2 attachments on like your weapons. That was it. And like that allowed me to like, you know, you could create different classes, but like you could do it rather quickly. And when I got into like the new Call of Duties, I really dislike them because the thing that they have right now is like you can change the look of your character, you can change the origin of your character, you can change like the class of your character, you can change what they're specialized in, and I'm like, I don't care about that shit. Just give me 2 weapons, just give me 2 weapons, like my consumables, give me my perks. That's all I need. Like I don't care like what my character looks like. I don't care what all this like shit is like. Oh, they're like a soldier and they can use this ability. It's like no, I just want plain and simple Call of Duty because this is getting to like a point where I'm like, there are so many like different levels of like complexion where I need to worry about like how does this work. I'm like yeah, like I can't be bothered. And like that's something which I'm a little bit worried about. Like not like I'm not saying that this is the nail in the coffin or like this is the point of like this is the first time I thought about it. Like I didn't think about that with Rivens. I didn't think about that like with the focus system. I didn't think about that before. Maybe Railjack, because Railjack for me was like a point where like when I saw that you could upgrade, but the things you could upgrade had like different marks, but that also had randomized stats. I was like, yeah, I'm not even gonna bother with that. Like that's a big no. I'm not even gonna like look into that. But like I'm just like Warframe already has a steep learning curve, though like the new player experience looks like I don't know what it's gonna be, but it's cool that they're reworking it. But like it already has a steep learning curve. If like we're gonna add so many like levels of complexion where like they look at like a high end player and it's like, oh yeah, but you gotta have like this Warframe with this ability and you gotta have dual performa on that Warframe. You're gonna have like this and this and this and this and this. Like by that not like I'm all for like if meta is your game, if meta grinding is your game, like that's all cool. But like for people who it isn't, like isn't it gonna be at some point if we're adding more and more levels of complexity, like scaring them off, like just like the way that I was scared off by Call of Duty new ones.
You're not wrong, but I think, see, this is one of the reasons why I'm not happy that Deimos is where it is. Like, I kind of want Deimos. So, I don't know if you picked up on the dialogue said, but one of the big things was, basically they're having to bring Deimos back out of the far reaches of the origin system back into orbit with Mars, which to me is really cool. But my hope is, honestly, they gate it so you can't get to Deimos until maybe you have your railjack, right? Or maybe you have done the second dream, right? Or the reason is that, as you just said, like, you're adding complexity all the time. Now we're going to add the ability to swap Warframe abilities straight off the bat when players don't have.
The
Exactly.
fifth planet.
So that's why I don't want Deimos to appear until the player base has done the second dream.
Yeah.
Right. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Like I hadn't even thought of like the placement there. Like I was more thinking of I think I was talking about Eidolons and how a public squad doesn't doesn't allow me to merely enjoy the approach in the fight itself. Yesterday I also had people saying that like, hey, I enjoy like Eidolons are worse than raids to me because like people always want the very optimized builds and they want to have like everything and like having everything has like the requirement raises so much, and like now if you also gotta like choose your Warframe abilities and like have these ribbons and have this, it's like it becomes so complex. I was more like afraid of like players like checking in recruiting tab like, hey, can I join in? Like I remember that when I had to like join in on Void Towers, I was like really scared that I didn't have the right Warframe, and I was like, well, you gotta have the right Warframe with the right ability and this and this and this. I was like, oh, maybe that will be a problem. But yeah, like definitely, like people are already getting confused with like open worlds on planets themselves. Like I know people that like gone to Plains of Eidolon and think that they first have to beat the Eidolons before they can move on to the next planet. Like that's already a level of complexity where it's like, well, is it great to like add that right now to the beginning? I don't know. But like this is gonna be even more because like if it's gonna be like the fifth planet and you can swap out Warframe abilities before you even know what like a Tenno is. Like, okay, yay, yeah, this is gonna be a thing. But yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay, like one. Okay, so one thing that I want to like pitch to you as like a bit of an idea. I don't know. Like I've thought about this a couple of times before, but the thing that I feel what Warframe could do with is to like have like stories begin and end within the gameplay at some point. So what do I mean with that? It's like if I look at Fortuna, like Fortuna has a clear beginning, like from like at a certain point where like at a certain point, like when she enters Fortuna, like a new story begins that hadn't like been explored before that, and that story is like of like the Fortuna people that are being in debt and that like have to like get rid of their debt, otherwise they're being like they're being taken away and their parts are being sold, and we see that happen. And like we experience something like that, and then we have to fight Nevanyo to like get back their debt and like make them be free again. However, like that story begins at a certain point in time, but it doesn't begin up right at the start. It begins like 2 planets in, and I think that's a fine point to begin, but it never ends. And like maybe it will end at some point, but like so far it's been like 2 years since this thing has come out, and it never ends. Like I think that it would be very beneficial for Warframe to be like, hey, you know, we have this Fortuna thing, which like happens like the second planet in. You can join in, like it will take you some time. You probably have to progress for the starter as well, and it's something that completes, like the story completes. It doesn't mean that you can't go back, and it doesn't mean that these characters can't like interact with future things anymore. Because like look at like a story game. I mean, like look at New Automata, where like if you go for different areas, like a story completes in that area, but you can still interact with these characters, and these characters will be reoccurring in other parts of the story later on. But like that would allow you to be like, okay, now we've closed off like this Fortuna thing, and now I can safely move on. But it would also allow them to say like, hey, Heart of Deimos appears later on because it's kind of supposed to appear later on. Like maybe you shouldn't like be tinkling with your Warframes like right at the beginning. Do you think that that's something that like this game, even though it's a live service, could use? Because like, well, do you think that it's something you could use?
I think every game as a service could use this. Like, what's the name of the World of Warcraft, right? I love World of Warcraft. I'm sure that the majority of our community knows I love World of Warcraft. And I do not comprehend players that do not read this the quests. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, do you not realize what's going on, like, in terms of the plot? And like, oh, actually, have I introduced you to the Trash Taste podcast? I'm sure I have.
I don't think so.
The whole anime one. Have I not shown you that?
No, I guess we should.
Oh my god. Okay, right. So after that, right, for anyone that likes anime, check out the Trash Taste podcast.
And for
Really
anyone
cool.
on the Trash Test podcast that likes gaming, check out the FrameCast.
Yeah. But the really interesting thing was one of one of the hosts, because there's three of them. One of them skips the plot of every single game he plays. Right? And I'm like, why are you playing that game then? Right? You know, you don't understand what's going on. Why are you even bothering? It's like,
I can understand
but
a little, because like I do that with Destiny. Like in Destiny, at some point I was like, well, I'll just like see what generally happens, but I'm not gonna bother watching everything.
But problem with Destiny, and I don't want to egg on it too much because I love egging on Destiny. I need to cut down my egg. Like, I'm getting fat here. But the problem with Destiny is that it is a game as a service. Right? It is designed to be open-ended.
Yeah.
Right? But think about Persona, right? Yeah. Like, I think he ragged on the plot of some of the Persona games. Like, he's ragged on the plot of a bunch of games he played, and it's just like, how can you not know what the fuck you're doing? And
but
again,
how can you rag on the plot if you're not caring about the plot? It's like if you play a Mario game, you don't bother about following the plot. It's like, fine, you know, you just play for the gameplay, don't bother with the plot. But how can you criticize the plot if you don't bother with following the plot? Like, that's weird.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, it's why bother playing the game if, like, oh, I enjoy the combat system. Is that it?
Well, I mean,
right?
you could play Warframe for just the combat system. You could play Mario, or like maybe like
again, like Warframe, I don't think is a good example because it is a game as a service, right? I think a better example would be Crisis, right? I think what would be
well, what if you played Nier for its like unique like combat system? Like, you're just like, oh, I just want to ride animals and kill robots. I don't care what's going on. I mean, it'd be weird because like the really good part of it is like the story, but maybe people just don't care about story, but they're just like, oh, I can shoot things at robots, I can like hack things. Maybe that's what they're into.
Anyway. I do think that there should be conclusions to narratives in games as a service.
Yeah.
Right. The problem with that is that if there is not an ongoing or long-running open-endedness to the plot, then a lot of players that do care about the plot, you and myself, perfect examples, would, you know, oh, cool, Fortuna has concluded. There is no need to return to Fortuna. I put game down now and read book. You know, it's. I feel that tactic would negatively impact any game as a service.
Well, like partly I agree and partly I disagree. Like, yes, there is a point that if you conclude things in your game, then people will quit. But like on the other hand, like the way that like things have been left open ended, especially like the way that they did, especially with announcements, like really put me off of the game. Like even more so than if they concluded things. But what I think even more so, like that's kind of like a moot point. Like, I don't think this is too important. But what I think is more important is that like Warframe has a lot of open ended points with like Fortuna, Plains of Eidolon, like there's many storylines, and like I don't think that like necessarily it would be a problem if like let's say that like Nevanyo was like, you know, beaten away to a point that like the depths are kind of paid and now they're trying to like live their lives, like they would still exist and they could still interact like the way that you see in Nier, in Nier you also have moments where like you concludes some sort of arc of a character, and like that unlocks a new place for you to visit, and like that could kind of be like, oh well, this has kind of been concluded, or like this entire thing has like gone up and boom. But you know, like still these characters will interact with you, and like I think that like you could just as well write a story about like, oh, the Fortuna characters that are out of depth are now here to help you, rather than like the Fortuna characters that are just the same as always. I mean, they already do that with like the thing when you reach max rank.
Yeah, no, I get where you're coming from. I really do. It's I would like to see some conclusions to stuff. Like, you know, we've had so many open-ended things. Like, what's happened with the Worm Queens, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's happened with Hunhow? For love of God, where the fuck is Hunhow?
Or
right?
Stoker. Like, I want to know more about Stoker. It's like
I still to this day argue, right,
mm-hmm.
that Stalker. So the sacrifice was supposed to be Stalker's quest.
I think so too. I agree. But like that's the thing. It's like I am totally fine with you leaving open-ended things if you know that like these things are going to converge at some point. But like don't just leave things open-ended. But because there's so much to like
Yeah.
they're like it's not like Fortuna is their only plot point. And I think that just with Heart of Deimos, like Heart of Deimos, like people can start playing this game for so many more things than just Heart of Deimos that you can like put it later on and then like let it conclude at some point. But like yeah, I think that's a good thing. One more thing before we get to questions. So guys, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in chat. One more thing is I'm gonna get to your favorite topic of the day, egging on Destiny. I just heard like yesterday or in the stream that Destiny is doing away with pretty much all their weapons from the start in a way to balance it. So like not only have they done away with their quests, but like pretty much all the weapons except for exotics that have like all the older weapons are they're just gonna go boom, bye bye.
I don't like it's so weird because like I think that I go a lot out of my way to defend the actions of Warframe, but at the same time I wouldn't say I'm like the shining white knight. I do think that there's some things that we need to be wary of, so on and so forth. But Destiny 2, like I know so many goddamn white knights for Destiny 2. It's like, you know, oh, what Destiny 2 is like the best shit ever. Oh man, it makes me so hard. It's so amazing. Oh! And I'm like, yeah, but what about this? Oh yeah, no, we ignore that. What about this? Oh yeah, no, but then we ignore that too. It's like, what about this? It's like, oh yeah, no, we just ignore. Like, I know someone, and I quote, everything that they are vaulting, everything that they're doing away with, is just crap by comparison of everything from the Forsaken onwards, right? And I'm like, well, that's only 2 expansions. There's Forsaken and Shadowkeep, and Shadowkeep's crap, right? I was like, oh yeah. No, but Forsaken's really good. So hold on, your whole argument of out of 5 expansions, including like the base releases and expansion, out of 5 expansions, they're doing well with the first 3, but the 4th one's really good, but the 5th one's really crap. Like, how do?
Yeah.
How?
It's like the thing that gets weird to me is like I should say there's 5 expansions. We're getting rid of like okay, here we go. We're back again. We're getting rid of like 3 of them at the start, and when we're left with the final 2, it's like it's not really expansions, it's more like replacements at this point. And like the fact is like it's a live service game. Like if this thing gets deleted from the game, it's gone. It's not like I can boot up my Destiny 2 disc on my thing and play offline. No, it's gone, and like that's kind of sad because I regardless of the quality of the game, I hate to like see this thing go that in history. But yeah. Anyway, I think that's kind of like it for topics and things. I don't see any questions in chat. Let's see. I think we, or at least I want to hear Xena's opinion on Destiny 2. I need to hear it. At some point, it is in existence an MP3 recording of this. I think Steph just wants to know your opinion on Destiny 2. Fuck yeah. So yeah, that's Xena's opinion. You can set it as your notification for like new messages. Just like cut that out.
Yeah, you could if you wanted to. I actually have a question for you, right? So I spoke about not liking Nova's wormhole.
Yeah.
Do you have an ability and like one of your Warframes that you regularly play? What ability would you like to swap out? You know, you don't have to say what you want to swap it with, but like, what Warframe ability do you want to like do away with and replace it with something else?
Like, probably it would just be like the one attack thing where it's like, you know, you have like this rich from the slash dash guy, but like things like slash dash, Rhinos charge, that kind of thing, where it's like, you know, you press a button and it's just like a more powerful attack to attack one enemy and that's it. It just kind of feels like, right, I mean, like, of course that needs to be an ability, but like I never use it because it's just like you press it and like I could have just as well shut my gun.
Yeah, but on which Warframe?
So things like Atlas has like rock slide, Rhino has like charge, Excalibur slash dash. What else? There's a bunch of Warframes that have like this first ability, which is just like I run up to an enemy and I deal more damage than like regular damage. But like once you get to a stage where you have like guns and stuff, it's like you don't really use it anymore. That's as far as I can tell right now.
I think ignoring Nova, I would swap out Loki's decoy for something else. Like,
oh yeah,
I'm sure there's a reason to use it. I really am, but at the same time, invisible. You know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So why is Hydroid your favorite Warframe?
Is that genuinely a question?
I think it is.
Okay, Hydroid is not my favorite Warframe. However, to entertain the chain of thought, because he is second best, he is first mate to the best pirate Warframe in the whole of Warframe, which is the Limbo Deluxe with the Grax Limbo helmet.
With something that will
Hydroid
never be
makes
heard
an
in time.
Huh?
What do you say you cut out when you say Limbo Deluxe with?
Oh, so the Limbo Deluxe body with the Grax Limbo helmet, because he looks like a ghost pirate.
Ooh.
So Hydroid is my favorite Warframe because he's the best first mate to Limbo.
Okay, that's a good thing. Tribal says blasphemy. I was expecting that. Sandy Fema says conclusion brings satisfaction in some sense and a goal nonetheless. I believe Warframe could benefit greatly from completion even in lower areas. Definitely, because like it's kind of like having anticipation all the time is a good thing. However, at a certain point, it will turn around. Like the anticipation that I had for like the Avengers movies, like kind of died away. But then like we got Infinity War and Endgame, and that was like, oh yeah, my hype got up, and then like it concluded, and like I don't have really much interest in seeing more Marvel movies, but it felt so good, and now I kind of want to rewatch the shit because like it concluded. But if it went on for like 20 more years, they would have lost me. So like a conclusion is really important. Pixel says the thing is, looking at these selections so far, the system is going to be entirely populated by the abilities that people want to get rid of. You're just going to end up turning once. Well, yeah, like, what we're going to have to see. We can't really get into details right now because we don't know. Who'd bench more, Atlas or Rhino? Who is stronger? Oberon.
Oberon can lift.
Ooh.
Like he can lift all the benches at the same time.
Because he's as strong as wood or something? Why?
No. Because Reckoning, he picks everything up and then smashes it into the ground.
Okay.
Oberon is the existence of bro, do you even lift?
Atlas is the arms, Rhino is the legs. Is for yeah. Anyway, yeah, I think that's quite right. I think that's also a great point to end it. Don't you think so?
Yep, I completely concur.
Well then, everyone, thank you so much for watching this episode of the FrameCast. Hopefully next week we will be back with a brand new mixer that actually works and we don't have to use the stupid microphone anymore. And like, yeah, hopefully we'll be back with something good next week soon. That being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you had fun with this week's episode. Next week, make sure you'll be here at the right same time, same place. Tuesday on Twitch. If you want to check out Xenogelion, go to youtube.com/xenogelion.com or it's Patreon. What else do we say? We say many different things. Check it out tomorrow on YouTube. This episode will be live along as many things. And yeah, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Is there anything you want to say to end this up with, Drew?
I need to pee.